Hello, everybody, and welcome to And Random Things. This pack is Stratosphere Rising Multiversal Mayhem. It is a new pack created by me, and I'm going through it as an alpha test and playthrough just to make sure that everything works before I release it to the public. I'm going to make at least a partial playthrough before I release it, perhaps the whole thing, just to make sure that everything is in order and does work as intended. I might make a few changes as we go through the pack, but otherwise I'm going to be, just going through everything I can. This series will have spoilers, so if you're more interested in figuring out all the mechanisms for yourself without any kind of help, then by all means go ahead and wait for the release and play it on your own. But if you want to follow along, you're absolutely welcome to do that. Let's go ahead and jump in and talk about this pack. It is heavily inspired by equivalent skies from 1.12.2. This pack is made in 1.16.5. It did also take some inspiration from Not Too Complicated 2. Essentially, it is a skyblock pack about automation. However, this pack is a little different because instead of just having a nebulous goal such as automating the Mark 7 stuff like in equivalent skies, in this pack you're trying to create a specific item, which is the final star. The kicker is all the mods that are going to be involved in the progression line, such as Botania, Mechanism, even Create and Compact Crafting, they're going to be restricted to their own dimension. So that way, it forces you to actually work with the mod within its own boundaries. So no more Ender.io conduit for working with Mechanism machines. You'll have to use Mechanism's own system to generate its power, to create its items. You will be able to use Applied Energistics in every single dimension. That is kind of the point. You should be able to autocraft everything. And of course, vanilla will be available as well in every single dimension. But there are a few different dimensions to explore and to have fun in. And hopefully this will be a fun journey. Another thing is that Immersive Portals has been installed. So that makes the process of dimension hopping not only easier, but also a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started. I've just completed this Start Here task, and it gives you the Tome of Knowledge and a Watch of Flowing Time. Let's go ahead and get that in there and get started with EMC generation. All right, now one update in this pack from its inspirations is that the early game grind has been skipped. So it'll be a lot easier to generate a significant amount of EMC right at the beginning of the game. I don't want to get stuck in the pre-stages. I want to be able to get right into making what matters, which is the different mechanisms in the different dimensions. Let's go ahead and just start getting some EMC real quick. We do have a tree growing simulator like mod, so crouching quickly grows crops and trees. And we've also got the right click to harvest, so one of the best bets for early EMC generation is just cocoa beans. And go ahead and put those in there and grab an iron wand. Let's also go ahead and make a crafting table on a stick. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and build this out into a circle. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about the mods that are in the pack. All right, so if we go to quests, we've got a dimension for crafting. So this will involve things like extended crafting, compact crafting, big reactors, and create. Generally physical items or crafting related mechanics. We have one for Botania, we have one for mechanism, one for pneumatic craft, a Tinker's Construct dimension, one for any of the thermal series that are installed. We have an astral sorcery dimension, immersive engineering, draconic evolution, and there is an entry here for the end, simply just to outline how to build the portal to get there. And then, of course, once you've visited every dimension and made your machines, you'll be able to craft the final star, which is the final goal of the pack. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish this circle, and I'll be right back. All right, I've made the outline of the circle that we're going to fill in. It's just a radius of 10, and I'm going to go ahead and clean up a few blocks that got placed down here. And then the rest can be filled in with the wand. So one of my design considerations in this pack was to make the process, or any process that's not involved in actually building a mechanism or a machine and then automating it with Applied Energistics, should not feel too grindy. All of the getting to the dimensions should be relatively easy. Now, some of them, such as pneumatic craft, require compressed iron, and the draconic evolution dimension requires draconium ingots or draconium blocks, which are restricted to later stages of the game. So you can't access all the dimensions right away, but you will be able to access them naturally during the progression. You won't have to get sidetracked. But most mods will actually need to be completed most of the way through in order to use them towards the final star. Let's go ahead and get a few more of these. We'll go ahead and finish filling this in. All right, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and move this now, set up a couple more, fill that in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this for a few minutes, and I will be right back. I'm just going to build up some EMC, and then we'll get started and go to a dimension or two. All right, I'm back. I went ahead and took about 10 minutes and filled up my entire inventory with cocoa beans. So let's just go ahead and throw all of these into the table. And just like that, we have 100,000 EMC. So we're going to go ahead and actually keep this for now. Just keep it right there in case we need to generate more. But we should be good for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at where we're going to go next. The crafting dimension is going to be one of the first portals that I make. And it's just another portal frame made out of crafting tables. So I'm going to grab a few of these. And let's go ahead and build the portal here. I'm going to make it 3 by 3. Now the thing about the portals in this game is because of immersive portals, your portal frames can be any size or shape as long as they're in the same plane. So I could even have it coming up here and go in and then go out, and it would not be a perfect rectangle, and it would still work as a portal. But I'm just going to go ahead and build it like that for now. And we might be changing the portal shape a little later, just to make things a little more aesthetic, but we'll see. And once you have a frame built, and this goes for all of the custom portals in this mod, except for the end dimension, just right-click on it with a stick, and the portal will be created. Now, you may notice there's no frame, and when I come through here, actually let's pick a different. See, I did enter the dimension, so I completed the quest. Let's pick a different floor type. Let's go with. Do we like dark oak planks? We not like dark oak planks. And in case you didn't catch it, because these are crafting tables and they are functional as crafting tables, in order to light it with the stick, you do need to crouch and then click. The other ones aren't like that. You just click it with a stick and it will light normally. Now, this is the reason why Immersive Portals is installed. You may notice that I am switching dimensions, and there is no loading screen. I can walk around in circles and even see through the portal. And if there were other portals in the line of sight, you would be able to see through multiple. And if you have multiple portals to the same dimension set up the right way, you do see yourself, not infinitely, but for a certain number of iterations, you can actually see down the line. This is a very cool mod, and I think it just kind of helps make the pack what it is. So let's go ahead and we've got our base platform here, and we're going to go ahead and leave it there. As you may recall, the crafting dimension, that's where we're going to have extended crafting, compact crafting, big reactors, and create. None of those are quite ready for us to get started in yet, but we've got the portal there, and just for making sure that it's available when we do need it. Let's go ahead and take a moment and look at the final star and talk about what goes into actually crafting it. So the final star's recipe has not been changed, and for the most part, where possible, mod recipes are kept to their original. Some changes have been made for project expansion, of course, to make the progression line fit with other mods. Some of the mods have had adjusted entry level recipes so that they can be gotten into. And then Astral Sorcery, you start with a few items so that you can work your way up, because there are no ancient shrines generating in the world. But this final star doesn't actually have a use. It's a good trophy to be a final item to craft. It is 8 final power flowers, marked 16 around the dragon egg. Each of these power flowers is going to be marked 16 relays, and Mark 16 compressed collectors, each of which is 9 Mark 16 collectors, in addition to a Mark 16 EMC link. This recipe has not been changed, nor has the final star shard, but these collectors have been changed. So there is a progression line involving a few different mods. The last 8 collectors are in Draconic Evolution. So you've got each tier of matter, you've got your singularities, you've got ultimate catalyst from extended crafting, components, ultimate ingots, which do have a significant price tag, miniaturization crafting for a couple of these collectors. There's one that is based around Instone, and there is one that is based around Soul Sand, which do have custom recipes. You can only get Instone in this pack prior to being in the end, of course, by transmuting Sandstone with Astral Sorcery Starlight Transmutation. You will need to progress a fair amount through Astral Sorcery in order to get to this point, because you will have to create your own collector crystals. Again, you've been given starter materials, but you'll be able to make the collector crystals with what you have, but you will have to complete that before having access to Instone, thereby the end or this collector. Soul Sand is also similar. You will need to Starlight Transmute Netherwort blocks. Otherwise, if you have Soul Soil or Soul Sand, then you will have access to this, but your first exposure to it will be through the Starlight Transmutation. And then prior to the miniaturization crafting, you've got a few ultimate crafting recipes. You've got this one, which is based around pneumatic craft and mechanism and astral sorcery. You've got this one, which has immersive engineering, thermal, and a little bit of Tinker's Construct. This one is entirely Botania. You've got blocks of Elementium, blocks of Terrasteel, and every single rune in the pack or in the mod. And then the basic collectors, 1, 2, and 3, are similar to how they appeared in Equivalent Skies, but here you've got your Netherite and Red Matter blocks, and here you've got lower tier of Netherite, Dark Matter blocks, and scraps of debris, and your Nether Quartz crystals. So the progression line going all the way from here up to the Mark 16s and then to the final star will be involved. And just to elaborate on, actually, the goal is not to have a final star, but it's to be able to autocraft the final star with your Applied Energistics system. So you should be able to go into your Applied Energistics system and request a final star, and it should be able to give you one without you having to manually craft or operate any machines to do so. So some of those items may be stocked, they may have to be stocked because of just the complexity of this craft, but you should not have to do any handcrafting or manual machine operation in order to produce from basic EMC to final star. Everything should be fully automated and repeatable. So that is the goal, and this is going to be an interesting journey. It's going to take a little while. Again, this is an alpha test, so I'm going to be trying to do everything pretty thoroughly. Just make sure there's no bugs, make sure everything is attainable, and to see if there's any spots that need to be adjusted for the sake of content flow, and make sure nothing drags too much, or there's no bottlenecks in the progression line. Just see if there's any adjustments that need to be made. And if you guys can think of any adjustments or improvements, go ahead and let me know. I did try to keep this to mods that are automatable within themselves and with Applied Energistics. And I also tried to keep out anything that wasn't necessary. There are a few helper mods. And mods that are allowed in any dimension, and those include things like what are some building gadgets. Building gadgets is in here to help with your aesthetic needs. Quark is in here, so all the related, or Quark and Chisel, so all their related blocks. Again, mostly aesthetics. Quark. Storage drawers is limited to the overworld. Cage mobs. Cage mobs is in the pack. Cage mobs are not limited to any specific dimension, but mob farms built without this will best be built in the crafting dimension. Nope, the overworld. Because here you've got dark utilities for the vector plate, and you've got mob grinding utils, and you've got storage stores. So basic mob farms are going to be best built in the overworld, whereas cage mobs can be built anywhere once you get the materials. Now a note on using Applied Energistics, you will need to use the quantum tunnels. There is not an Applied Energistics expansion here, so there's no AE2 stuff, there's no extra cells, there's no lazier AE2. And that is intentional. The point is to use Applied Energistics the way it was intended, with the channels, with the quantum rings. If you want processors automated, you shouldn't be able to do it in a single block. You should have to build the mechanism to do so. And you should have a fair grasp of network management by the time you complete this pack, because you will need it in order to unify the different dimensions of processing all that. So with that all out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and also build the Britannia dimension. That's going to be all the dimensions we build today. This one is just dirt. Build a frame out of dirt. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see how we're going to do this. Let's yeah, let's just go ahead and build it here. No. Let's build it here. Again, I might change the shapes of these just to make them a little more aesthetic. If I do so, I'll do it between episodes. I'm not going to waste a ton of time on aesthetics here. And also, I'm not going to do a ton of tutorials on individual mods like Britannia or Draconic Evolution or Mechanism. So, use graph for this dimension. Yeah, so no mod tutorials. I'll explain what I'm doing, especially when I start automating things like Draconic Evolution, because there's a special way to automate Draconic Evolution, especially when you have a lot of items. And that's another thing, is there is no packaged auto in here. There are ways to emulate the packaged auto packages just normal. And so when I go through that, I will kind of explain what I'm doing, but I'll assume that you already know how to use Draconic Evolution. This is actually quite fascinating here. I want to see if Ooh, okay. So this block here in this dimension is grass, but in this dimension it's dirt, and you can see that on both sides. That's very fascinating. Another cool thing about immersive portals. Interesting. That was weird. It didn't place through the portal, but yeah, you can place through portals in immersive portals. Let's see. Now, I mentioned earlier astral sorcery. This one does have the quest rewards here. You'll need 16 star metal and the crafting table. I won't go there yet, but when I do, the portal is made out of the actual marble from astral sorcery. Now, typically this is an astral sorcery block, so it should be restricted to the dimension, but it has been whitelisted because it is the portal material. So, for marble, it will be placeable in any dimension, but if you have other modded blocks, such as well, I don't think there's actually any in the table right now that okay. Excuse me while I have a heart attack. That was unpleasant to say the least. Get out of here. Alright. Where was I? Modded block. Let's see. Here we go. Let's find an ingot. We'll just say yellow again. Next block. Now this block is from Big Reactor. But if I try to place it in the overworld, it doesn't work. I have limited the actual placement of blocks in certain mods to their dimensions, not just the rule. You can't do it. Now you'll notice that block seems to be gone, but that's a visual bug. Click on the empty space, you'll get the block back, or you can drop it and you'll get the block back. If you have multiple of the blocks and you place one down, same thing. Drop it, you'll get it back. Or pick up the thing, you'll get the whole stack. So, not to worry. It may be a little concerning to see your blocks disappear, especially if they're going to be expensive ones from Chronic Evolution or Mechanism, but they are recoverable, they are still in your inventory. Don't worry, and just drop it or pick it up, and it will reappear. So I'm going to go ahead and well, I'll probably edit that out in post. I'm going to do a little planning. I'll be right back. Alright, I've done a little bit of planning. And I've added some ingredients here, kind of based off of our first step towards the progression line. I've cooked up some food for myself because I was getting hungry, and I've expanded the Botania platform because that's where we're actually going to go ahead and get started. Let's go over this a little bit here. So the two main mods to start in right now are Applied Energistics and Britannia. I've just got the basic setup here. And remember, big reactors is not available in the overworld, so your core Applied Energistics system will have to be done using the vibration chamber. And then once you get to the big reactors world, you can use that to supplement your network. But for now, we'll actually have to use Applied Energistics the way it was designed. Charged Stardust is available with EMC. So we go in here. We've got both Stardust and Charged Stardust. Again, didn't want to set up a very grindy way to get into the most basic of this mod pack, so it is available right from the start here. Now, the ME controller, this is gated until later in the pack. Reason being is that it requires, it does require steel, and it can use the mechanism or the immersive variant of steel. It needs the quantum rings, which are a little bit of doing, but not very much. But it does need Skystone, and Skystone is derived from Skystone dust. Now, this enrichment chamber, that's the mechanism, so you'll need to get in a mechanism to turn the dust into the stone, which is melted into the block. But the dust itself comes from either, well, you can get it from milling or grinding the stone, but again, you don't have that yet. It comes from crushing in stone with the Create crushing wheel. So the ME controller is gated behind Astral Sorcery. You have to complete Astral Sorcery before doing the end, and that's going to take a little bit of while. And the first energy collector is primarily glowstone, pure nether, and debris scraps. Debris scraps, of course, you get from melting down ancient debris. You'll need to visit the nether to get blaze heads for the blazing blood. This might be a point where I edit it, but as of right now, you can get blaze heads from killing blazes in the end. You can, very late game, use mechanisms nuclear synthesizer to get blaze heads from zombie heads, which do have EMC. And you should be able to get, I may need to add these to cage mobs just to make it simpler, but we'll see if I can find an easier way to do that. But you will need the blazing blood to melt the netherite scraps from the ancient debris, which is only gettable at this stage in the game. Again, you can nuclear synthesize, but you need the Orchid Ignum from Britannia. That is a late game thing because you need the Elven Trade. So this is late Britannia. We will have to complete Britannia in order to get the ancient debris. This is still a very low chance of getting ancient debris from the netherrack. But that is our starting point for the actual progression. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to focus primarily on basic Applied Energistics and then on going through Britannia. And that will primarily be done next episode. We're reaching about time here. So in between episodes, I'm going to rack up some more EMC. I'm going to get the pedals for all the different color pedals for Britannia, but I won't start on any of the actual progress for those of you who do want to follow along. So I'll go through Britannia itself, but I'll get the basic supplies that I need, and then I'll be back. I'll be back in next episode, and we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully we'll be able to get through a good portion of Britannia next time, if not all the way. So see y'all later. Have a good time.